Hello, my name is Sue Weishar, and I'm a research and policy fellow at the Jesuit Social Research Institute at Loyola University New Orleans. Today, I want to talk to you about the Ignatian Teach-In on Mass Incarceration, an educational program 2 hours in length, developed by JSRI and inspired by Pope Francis. As a way of countering attitudes of defensiveness, fear, and indifference towards poor and marginalized people, all typical of a throwaway culture, Pope Francis is frequently called for a culture of encounter. He counsels that a culture of encounter is the only culture capable of building a better, more just, and fraternal world. The Ignatian Teach-In on Mass Incarceration aims to create a culture of encounter between members of a faith community and people too often feared and marginalized, men and women who have served time in our nation's vast carceral system. The heart of an Ignatian Teach-In on Mass Incarceration is the listening circles, where formerly incarcerated people share their life stories with participants. I will describe now how to organize an Ignatian Teach-In on Mass Incarceration in the hope that you might consider holding a teach-in at your university, school, or parish. The U.S. incarcerates more of its residents, both in absolute numbers and rate of incarceration, than any country on earth. A highly disproportionate share of incarcerated persons are people of color. Mass incarceration is arguably the greatest racial injustice facing our nation today. The Ignatian Teach-In on Mass Incarceration provides participants the information and, most importantly, the face-to-face experience with people harmed by our nation's harsh and punitive criminal justice system, needed to grow in understanding how mass incarceration impacts families and communities. Additionally, participants are encouraged to address criminal justice reform in their city or state. The first step in organizing a teach-in on mass incarceration is inviting formerly incarcerated persons willing to tell their stories. There are several organizations composed of formerly incarcerated persons in New Orleans whose mission is to educate the public about mass incarceration. And we at JSRI work closely with two of those organizations, Women Determined and Catholic Charities Cornerstone Builders Program. And we invite those participants to our teach-ins. And we've held 9 teach-ins on mass incarceration since 2017. You then need to invite people to serve as table facilitators. They have to go through a short training on how to simply ask agreed upon questions to the guest table at one's table, the guest speaker at one's table. You'll need a moderator for the whole event. And you'll also need, obviously, PowerPoints, agenda, script, flyer, opening prayer, evaluations, etc. And we can provide you all that with JSRI. We can send you those documents, or you can download them, and then you can edit them to fit your community. It's ideally held the teach-in in a large room with good acoustics, with round tables, so people can see everyone seated at the table, an LCD projector and screen, and we always provide honorariums to our guest speakers as a way to show our appreciation for their time and effort. We begin the teach-in with an opening prayer, a powerful prayer written by the late Sister Diane Ortiz, that references several comments that Pope Francis has made in his visits to prisons in the US and elsewhere. We go over the goals of the teach-in with participants. These goals were already on the flyer that was used to advertise the event. Next, the moderator will give an overview of the policies and attitudes that led to mass incarceration. Again, JSRI can provide you with the text and the PowerPoint for this discussion. The next part of the teach-in, and we're at about the half-hour mark now, is that we ask a formerly incarcerated person to speak to the whole room. And we often ask Ms. Rhonda Oliver, the executive director of Women Determined, to speak to the whole room about her experiences of mass incarceration and reentry and the work of her organization, Women Determined. After that talk of about 10 minutes from one person, formerly incarcerated person, to the whole room, then we go over some of the faith values that can guide an understanding of addressing mass incarceration, particularly and Ignatian values as well, but particularly the value of respect for the dignity and sanctity of human life, the core Catholic social teaching principle. After this discussion, we begin these listening circles, the heart of the program, where people listen intently to the stories of formerly incarcerated persons. Here's a picture of a listening circle that was held at an AJCU conference at Loyola University in 2017. And these listening circles will go on for about 45 minutes to an hour within the 2-hour program. After the listening circle, there's group sharing. Briefly, people are asked to say what's in their hearts to the formerly incarcerated person who was seated at their table. And then there's a brief discussion about ideas for action. What can you do as an individual or as a group to address mass incarceration in your city or state? And then we usually close with singing Amazing Grace. And then we ask people to complete a short evaluation form that, again, we can provide, that will give organizers a very good idea of what worked and how to improve future teachings. I think we've been successful in creating this culture of encounter at our teach-ins. Here's a teach-in we had just before the pandemic struck, and this was at Loyola University. Our students speak very positively of these teach-ins, and very importantly, our participants feel as though they've really been heard and respected. And it's just the beginning, but an important beginning for many people to begin to understand the issue of mass incarceration. If you have any questions about how to organize a teach-in on mass incarceration at your campus or church or parish, please email me or call me. I'm eager to work with you on this, and I hope you'll consider holding an Ignatian Teach-In on mass incarceration in your community. Thank you.